Welcome back to Pop Flashback. I'm your host, Rick Smalls. And it's amazing how some comedic actors just become timeless. Their work, it just resonates, across generations. And today we're going to be looking at the life and career of one such legend, John Candy. Man, what a talent. It's hard to believe it's been almost 3 decades since we lost him. Gone way too soon at the age of 43. But John Candy's legacy, it continues to bring laughter to millions. From his early days on SCTV, where he created those unforgettable characters, to his iconic roles in films like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and Uncle Buck. Candy's comedic genius was undeniable. So what was it about John Candy that made him so special, so universally loved? Why are we still talking about him, still laughing at his jokes all these years later? Well, for one, he had this incredible ability to make you laugh, even when his characters were making the biggest messes. You think about Del Griffith in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. He's annoying, he's clumsy, a shower curtain ring salesman. Not exactly the most glamorous profession. But underneath all that, he's just a lonely guy trying to get home to his family for Thanksgiving. And Candy makes you root for him, even when he's spilling his guts all over Steve Martin. It's brilliant physical comedy, but it also reveals Duvall's vulnerability. That's what Candy did so well. He found the humanity in even the most outlandish characters. Made us laugh, but he also made us feel. Now, some folks might argue that Candy's characters were a bit one-dimensional, always playing the lovable goofball, but I'd counter that by saying that's exactly what made him so great. He took these seemingly simple characters and infused them with a warmth and sincerity that resonated with audiences. He could be goofy and over the top, sure, but there was always a kindness and vulnerability that shone through, and I think that's why we connected with him on such a deep level. It wasn't just the jokes, it was the heart. He brought a certain magic to his roles, a blend of sweetness and silliness that's hard to find, and that's why his films continue to resonate with audiences today. They're more than just comedies. They're stories about family, friendship, and the importance of connection. And Candy's performances are the beating heart of those stories. And it's interesting to think about how Candy's own life experiences might have shaped his work. He lost his father at a young age, and I can't help but wonder if that loss gave him a deeper understanding of the fragility of life. The importance of cherishing every moment. Maybe that's why he brought so much heart to his roles. He knew how precious life was, and he wanted to share that joy, that laughter with the world. Speaking of his early life, John Candy was born in Newmarket, Ontario, and raised in a working-class Catholic family. He had dreams of gridiron glory, want to be a pro football player, but a knee injury, it sidelined those dreams. It's almost like the universe had other plans for him, pushing him towards a path where he touched the hearts of millions through laughter. So after hanging up his football cleats, he went to Centennial College to study journalism, then on to McMaster University. But it was there that the acting bug bit him hard, and he joined the Second City in Toronto. Think about it. Some of the biggest names in comedy came out of Second City. John Belushi, Bill Murray, Gilda Radner, Dan Aykroyd, the list goes on and on. And John Candy was right there with them, honing his comedic timing, creating characters that would become legendary. This is where the world first met: Johnny LaRue, Dr. Tongue, and the unforgettable Millenville mayor, Tommy Shanks. Candy's talent was too big for just one stage, and soon he was making his way to Hollywood, landing roles in films like 1941 and The Blues Brothers. But it was his role as the lovable, bumbling Dewey Oxberger in Stripes that really put him on the map. That movie was a smash hit, and it was the start of a fruitful comedic partnership with another Canadian comedy giant, director Ivan Reitman. From there, it was one iconic role after another. He stole scenes in National Lampoon's Vacation and brought heart and humor to Splash. But it was his collaborations with the late, great John Hughes that cemented Candy's place in cinematic history. Hughes just knew how to write for Candy's unique brand of humor, that blend of sweetness and silliness that I was talking about earlier. Think about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, that story about holiday travel gone wrong. It's somehow both hilarious and heartwarming. Candy and Steve Martin, comedic gold together. And then there's Uncle Buck, the lovable but irresponsible uncle who steps in to take care of his nieces and nephews. A true classic. It's fascinating to me. It's how Candy's early days in sketch comedy at Second City really shaped his ability to create these memorable, larger-than-life characters. He wasn't afraid to be big, to be bold, to really go for it, and that fearlessness translated beautifully to the big screen. But, he wasn't just a one-trick pony. Candy also showcased his versatility as a voice actor in animated films like Heavy Metal and The Rescuers Down Under, and he even co-owned the Toronto Argonauts CFL team, helping them win the Grey Cup in 1991. Talk about a renaissance man. It's almost unbelievable how much he achieved in his all-too-short career. But sadly, his life was cut tragically short when he died of a heart attack while filming Wagons East in Mexico, a loss that was felt deeply by everyone who had ever laughed along with him on screen. And that brings me to a question for you, our listeners. What is your favorite John Candy movie moment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hangry.
Hangry. Totally. And we're looking at their online shop today, and it's pretty wild. Got like everything you could think of, from t-shirts and sweatshirts to candles and stickers, and they've got, all this stuff with this really fun, food-themed kind of spin on it.
Yeah.
It's interesting how they've taken, what's a pretty negative emotion and spun it to be something.
To be something good.
Yeah, like something relatable and fun.
So before we moved on, I mentioned Candy's final film appearances. His last two films, Wagons East and Canadian Bacon, they were both released posthumously, serving as bittersweet reminders of his incredible talent, It's interesting to consider how Candy's legacy might have been different, had he lived longer. He was just hitting his stride as an actor, exploring more dramatic roles, taking on projects behind the camera. Who knows what other comedic gems he might have given us. But even though his time with us was cut short, his impact on comedy, undeniable. He was a true original, a comedic force of nature, who left an indelible mark on the world of entertainment. And you know what? He was a Canadian icon. He never forgot his roots, and he often incorporated his Canadian identity into his work, whether it was through subtle references or full-blown characters like the lovable hoser in Canadian Bacon. It's something that makes me, as a fellow Canadian, incredibly proud. But I think what's most remarkable about John Candy is that he transcended borders. His humor was universal, connecting with people from all walks of life. He had this incredible ability to make you laugh no matter where you came from, what language you spoke, or even what your sense of humor was. He was just a genuinely funny guy, and that's something that will never go out of style. So as we continue to celebrate John Candy, let's remember the laughter he gave us, the characters that made us smile, and the heart that he poured into every performance. He was a true comedic genius, and his work will continue to bring joy to generations to come. And, we were talking about how certain actors become synonymous with certain types of roles, right? And John Candy, he was undoubtedly the king of the lovable goofball. He had this knack, for turning even the most chaotic situations into these hilarious moments. But it's important to remember there was a depth to his performances that went beyond slapstick. He could make you empathize with these characters, cheer for them, despite their flaws, It's a testament to his skill that he can make us laugh at these characters, but without ever feeling superior to them. He invited us to laugh with them, not at them. He found the heart within the humor. And that's a quality that seems to be missing in a lot of comedies these days. There's often a tendency to go for the cheap laugh, the shock value. But Candy understood that true comedy stems from empathy. He saw the humor in everyday situations and the quirks of human nature, and he never punched down. His characters, though often the butt of the joke, were never mean-spirited. There was always a sense of good-natured fun, even amidst disaster. And that brings me back to something I mentioned earlier, the enduring legacy of John Candy. Why decades later are we still talking about him? Why are his films still so beloved? I think it's because his brand of humor was timeless. It was rooted in relatable experiences, universal emotions, and a genuine love, for making people laugh. He wasn't trying to be cool or edgy, he was just being himself, and that authenticity resonated with audiences. So as we wrap up our journey through the life and work of John Candy, I want to leave you with this thought. Go back and revisit some of his classic films, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Uncle Buck, Splash, The Great Outdoors. Watch them again and pay attention to the nuances of his performances. The way he used his physicality, his facial expressions, his voice. It all came together to create these unforgettable characters. You'll see that there was so much more to John Candy than just the funny fat guy. He was a brilliant comedian, a gifted actor, and a true original, and we were incredibly lucky to have had him even for a short time. Thanks for listening to Pop Flashback. Remember to like and subscribe so you can get our next episode. Smalls out.